Welcome to the Wine Zone. I'm Konrad Ejbich, and this is Pro and Con. Today, my guest is Richard Karlo. Richard is the winemaker, the owner, the vineyard manager, the Mr. Fix-It, and the general pitchman for Karlo Estate Winery.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades in Prince Edward County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, congratulations on winning a gold medal for this wine, Van Alstine White, at Intervan.
Excellent. Thanks. Yeah, we were pretty excited when we heard we'd won on that one.
I bet you did. Tell me, why did you call it Van Alstine? Tell me who he was and why you chose his name for the flagship wine instead of, say, your grandma's.
Well, Peter Van Alstine was actually the leader of the first group of loyalists that landed in Prince Edward County. After the War of Independence, there was a basic group of refugees in New York City, and they couldn't go back to the U.S., so a lot of them came up to Canada, and quite a few of them actually ended up in the East Coast. But there's a small group that came out and landed in Adolphustown and ended up coming across, and this is in 1784, and landed in Prince Edward County. Peter Van Alstine was the leader of that group. He built the mills in Glenora, which was really the first economy for Prince Edward County. He also established the ferry at that point as well, which has been now running for over 200 years. And he was the first member of Parliament for Prince Edward County. And we found a couple of years ago, we were looking through some old maps of our area, and we found out that he was actually the original owner of our property. And he was deeded the property in 1799. So we thought it would be a really fitting tribute to him. Like, we like to tie a lot of what we do into the history of the county and that sort of thing. We thought it'd be a nice fit.
Right. He was the first owner of the property, but it's not his family that you bought the property from.
No, but it was actually, funnily enough, it's the family that bought it immediately after him. So the property was sold, I think it was 1802, to the Stevenson family, who owned it for over 200 years before we bought it in 2005.
Yeah. Why did you choose Prince Edward County? I mean, it's the coolest wine region in Ontario, climatically speaking.
And it's also the coolest.
In all sense of the world. But why did you choose that to settle there instead of, say, Lake Erie North Shore?
I'm
the warmest.
Yeah, I mean, I've always lived most of my life in the Toronto area, and Lake Erie North Shore, it's a beautiful spot down there. It's a little bit off the beaten path in terms of traffic. So I looked at it from both perspective, like in terms of ideal grape growing conditions, and also from a business perspective in terms of where the best spot to be would be. Originally, I was looking down at Niagara. I looked for property for over 20 years before I settled on something. I've been thinking about doing this for a long time. And
was price an issue?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Niagara's pretty expensive. Right?
Niagara's expensive, and a good friend of mine, Dan Sullivan, we were
from Rose Hall
Run. He was looking to do the same thing as I was, and he originally was looking at Niagara as was I. He heard about the county. He came down and he ended up buying his property. I think it was in 2000. I came down to see his place pretty much right after we bought it, and I just fell in love with the county. I'd never been there before, and I thought to myself, if I prefer to be kind of on the pioneering end of things. So I thought this would be a great place to start. I really like the feel, the vibe of the place, and also
how long did it take you to actually find the right spot?
We looked for best part of 2 years. We started looking seriously in 2003, and then we bought the property in 2005. At the time, it was hard because the first winery only opened in 2001. So I went around and talked to everybody in the county who was growing grapes. Like, I was trying to get a feel for what was the best regions, the soil conditions, what's important in terms of property. And interestingly enough, the property we ended up buying was one of the first ones we saw. Mm-hmm. We saw it, we liked it, but then we looked around a lot more and got a better feel, and then we ended up coming back to where we originally had thought of.
It's all location, location, location.
It's important, there's no question.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first decision you make, and it's the most important because it's the one you can't change. You can change varieties.
Yeah.
You can change winemaking styles, you can change labels, you can change bottles, but you can't change your earth.
No, that's right. And also, it's this combination of the soil and also proximity to the lake as well, because we're about 1.5 kilometers from the lake where we're at. Mm-hmm. So if you're too close to the lake, it's a little too cool in the spring. You get a longer growing season, but you have a later bud break.
Yep.
If you're too far inland, you get hotter in the summer, but then you also have colder winters to deal with. So,
right.
I'm feeling very comfortable about where we bought, and I really like the spot.
Yeah. Now, most of your neighbors are growing 100% vinifera.
Right.
And you've planted several grape varieties like Marquette and Frontenac, which are which aren't sanctioned by the VQA, that's
Right.
the Vineyards Quality Alliance, when that limits your ability to sell those wines to the liquor board. Why did you go in that direction?
I tasted, I do some wine judging and that sort of thing as well, and I tasted some of these in some competitions, and I really liked the characteristics I was finding. Much different than the hybrids like Baco and Foch and those ones which have been around for a long time. And I thought
still haven't really proven themselves taste-wise.
No, not. I mean, there certainly is a following for them, but they tend to have kind of a gamey character, and it's kind of an acquired taste for a lot of people. I really liked with the new hybrids, the purity of the fruit. The higher acidity is a challenge to from a winemaking perspective to deal with. But I decided that I would like to try the new varietals. And when I planted them, to be honest, I wasn't sure what I was going to make with them.
Right.
I tasted table wine made from them before, but it wasn't really until we had actually had our first harvest and we started experimenting with different things that we decided to focus on sort of a sweeter style in terms of both like in the rosé, like an off-dry rosé, and for the ports.
And which is exactly what this is. Now this one, the Van Alstine White, it doesn't say white port, but it's basically white port style wine.
That's correct.
So it's off dry, it has a slight nuttiness. I think it's barrel aged for a short period of time.
Actually, this one isn't. This one is actually 100% done in stainless. The red port we have in barrel for about a year and a half.
Okay, and what grape varieties do you use here, and how do you treat them differently from the wines the other wines you make?
This is a blend of two different varietals. It's Frontenac Blanc, 2/3 Frontenac Blanc, 1/3 Gewürztraminer. So I had made and it was 100% Prince Edward County. I had both of those varietals in that year when I decided to start making the white port, and I tasted the grapes before we'd harvested them. I really found that the Van Alstine, or the white port, or the Frontenac Blanc had a really nice apricot character and a real intensity of flavor, and that's true of all the Frontenac family. They have a real intense flavor profile. And then I tasted the Gewürztraminer, and it had like the lychee and
The spice and the honey and all those.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I thought that they would be a nice blend together. So we
They are. It's brilliant. I love this.
Oh, thanks.
I love this a lot. I mean, that's one of the reasons you're here and I'm featuring is because I think it's a brilliant wine, and I'm going to put it on the CBC radio phone in next week. So
that's
I'm
great.
really pleased with it.
One of the things about all the hybrids is they have this high natural acidity, which is a challenge when you're making table wine, because if you're trying to ferment them dry, the acidity is too high. And the sort of general rule of thumb for people to be making them as table wines is you deacidify. And deacidification is kind of a violent process.
Yes, it
There's
is.
chemicals, and I didn't really like doing that.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it'd be nice to do a style where I could use the acidity to our advantage and not deacidify.
So, but acidity is also something that gives, aside from giving lift, it gives life, it gives
Right.
longevity. So how long would this bottle keep if it wasn't open?
It would keep years and years. I mean, it's got, as you know, the things that allow wine to last are alcohol, acidity, tannin, and it's got all of those attributes. I mean, we've only been making it since 2010, so
Right.
it's got all the bones to last a long, long
Right,
time.
and once it's been opened, as this bottle has, how long would you keep it?
We normally find it's been we've had them open up till about a month, and they're still fine.
Yep, just store them in the fridge.
Yeah, just store them in the fridge, or just if you're going to have it around for a while and you want to be 100% sure, just get the wine saver if they have it, the LCBO, the little gas thing, and give it a little shot into the bottle, and that will actually coat the top of it, and you can keep it pretty much indefinitely.
Right. So, what's your favorite food with this? Is it just like nuts or cheeses or?
Yeah,
you have a favorite?
Yeah, we actually when we do a lot of food pairings at the winery when we serve these. And when we can get it, we like to serve it with a white Stilton with candied apricots.
Interesting.
And it works really
Candied
good.
apricots, not dried apricots.
Yeah, they're candied apricots that they put into the Stilton.
Oh, I see. It's a cheese with candied apricots right in it.
Built into it, yeah.
Okay.
And it also works well with, just like you say, with nuts, like with pecans and
I think it also makes a lovely aperitif with some nuts or some sardines or olives or something like that, because you've got that contrast again.
A lot of restaurant people we talked to said they love it with foie gras.
Oh yeah. So did you bring any foie gras? No. Okay. Now you also produce some other unusual varieties, barrel fermented Riesling, Chardonnay aged in 4 different types of oaks. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Riesling to start with, it's usually considered to be sacrilege to put Riesling anywhere near wood.
Yeah.
But one thing I found in Prince Edward County, we have very high natural acidity, and we have a lot of minerality.
Is it new wood?
No, definitely older wood.
Older wood. So
I don't really want to impart any oak character in it.
Right.
But we use about 6-year-old white oak barrels that we had previously had Chardonnay in them.
Right.
And by putting it in barrel, what happens is we barrel ferment them through the fermentation process. The tartaric acid tends to stick to the inside of the barrel.
Correct.
So it's a way of naturally softening the wine without doing anything chemical.
Right.
And the wood adds just a little complexity, so it adds some nuances without coming across as being tasting oaky at all.
Right.
And then we just leave a little bit of residual sweetness in there as well, just to balance off that acidity. So it doesn't come across as sweet. It just comes across as not completely dry.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that with Rieslings from the county, if you ferment them completely dry, you lose a lot of the fruit because you get the acid and you get the minerality. But because it's so acidic, you lose a lot of that fruity character. And with just a little bit of residual sweetness, it lifts the fruit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the Chardonnay in the 4 barrels, where are they again?
That's it's called Choa, cherry, hickory, oak, and ash.
Okay.
Which is pretty unusual. The barrels were actually made. A friend of mine owns the carriage house cooperage, and he
That's Canadian cooperage in Prince Edward County.
Prince Edward County, Pete Bradford, and he originally made these barrels for balsamic vinegar. There was a company in Quebec had ordered them. The idea in balsamic vinegars are often put in all kinds of exotic woods.
So it's separate barrels. It's not a barrel made with slats.
No, it's actually a single barrel or single barrels that have 4 different types of slats in them.
4 different types of slats in them, right?
And the idea was, I guess, for the balsamic vinegar was to have them in, and you would have to move them from barrel to barrel because you've got all the different woods in the same barrel. And
it's like a cheater's way of making balsamic.
But he toasted these, he toasted them. He said, "You got to smell this. It's really interesting nose." So I came down and gave him a sniff, and I said, "I'd like to try some Chardonnay in that." So I bought some barrels from him, and we started producing the Choa. We only leave it in wood for about 3 months because I find particularly the cherry and the hickory really impart their flavor fairly quickly. And also, I didn't know what I was going to end up with because it's kind of an unknown quantity. No one had ever done it before. Mm-hmm. So we just left them in wood for about 3 months. And it's a lot of people say they can really pick up the cherry and the hickory in it. But it's, again, our style that we make all our wines is the oak more in the background.
It's sort of like to use an analogy, barbecuing with mesquite or barbecuing with hickory and barbecuing with applewood, just to slightly flavor the wine.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in future, will you order barrels that have fewer of certain slots, of certain staves, and more of others?
So far, I like the mix that we've got, and we just have to, as the barrels get older, we have to adjust the length of time we leave them in wood.
Right.
And I just do it by taste it once a week and that sort of thing, and see how it's coming to try to make sure we sort of keep that flavor profile.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this is your flagship wine. This and the red.
Yeah, the two ports are probably what we're best known for.
Okay. And how quickly has your production and your sales on this grown?
Oh, it's grown very dramatically. When I made the first red port back in 2008, I just did it because I like port.
Right.
I've always belonged to the port club,
too, yeah.
And so I just did it for fun.
Yeah.
And people heard we were making some, so everyone wanted to come in and try it, and we kept thieving samples out of the barrel, and then as people would say, "I want to buy some." I said, "Well, when it's not ready yet." They said, "Well, I want to buy some." So eventually, over a period of time, we said, we started selling it.
But at the same time, it is made from Frontenac and Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer is a sanctioned grape, but Frontenac's not.
That's
so you
correct.
can't sell it at the liquor board.
Well, and it's also, we can't sell at the liquor board, and it's also, we're taxed really heavily if we sell it to restaurants.
You tax heavily if you sell it to restaurants.
Like, for example...
You are, not they are.
We are. The price that we sell to the restaurant is the same.
Right.
But if we sell this bottle from the winery, we get taxed roughly 25-26%.
Uh-huh.
If we sell to a restaurant, we get taxed at 58%.
That's...
Which is ridiculous.
Money grubbing scum. I'm sorry.
It is because
they are.
And I've been trying to get. I've been to VQA with these new varietals twice.
Yes.
And I'm still working on them now because they're
accepted elsewhere, aren't they? They're accepted in other countries.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's in like the northern U.S. It's one of the most widely grown grape varietals. It's grown a lot.
Comes from the University of Minnesota, right?
Originally developed there, yeah.
Okay.
I've been trying to get VQA to acknowledge it, because reality is there's only 4 hybrids that are on the VQA list. Of the eight hybrids, 4 of them aren't even grown anymore. So why don't they just update the list, drop off the ones that nobody is growing, and go to some of these new ones, which are as you know, you can tell they make some really nice wines.
This is exceptional. I love this wine. So folks at home can't get it at the liquor store, but they can get it by ordering direct through the winery.
That's correct.
And it's $29
$29
per bottle. Is there a minimum order?
We have for free delivery. We have minimum order of 8 bottles.
Okay.
And if it's under 8 bottles, it's just $15 for delivery.
Right. For whether you're buying 1 or 7.
Yeah, and people can call in to the winery and order over the phone, or we have a full e-commerce website, so you can order online.
Right. So you've been open now for 4 years.
Well, we've
2008.
We started producing wine in 2008. We actually opened in the spring of 2010.
Right. Okay. So if you could achieve one thing in the next year, one thing, what would that be?
I think it'd be to get VQA to recognize these new varietals. I think that would really, for us, it would really be impactful, because we get taxed very heavily on it. And also the other good thing about it is more people would plant them. Right now, more people don't plant them. A lot of people recognize the quality, but they say, I can only sell what I can. It only makes sense for me to sell what I can produce what I can sell from my own winery.
Of course.
And so it's very limiting in what you can do.
Yeah. Winemaking is not just a personal hobby. It's
No.
a business.
That's right.
So what would you like to achieve by the end of the decade? By 2020?
I think what I'd like to do is, become, I guess, obviously more established. We're right now, our winery itself is an old converted barn. And we're at that point of our growth. We're up a little over 4,000 cases of production now. So we're at that point where we're going to have to make the big leap fairly soon into putting up an actual production facility. And we like to make really interesting varietals. And one of our taglines is expect the unusual. And we try to do unusual varietals. And then when we do usual varietals, we try to do them in a different way.
Yeah.
So I think it's just to continue doing that, and to establish a really good relationship with our customers. And we love people to come out to the winery, because we approach things differently than a lot of other wineries do. Like, I think we're one of the few wineries in Ontario that has bar stools. And we do all of our tastings. We always do food pairings. So if someone comes in for a full flight tasting, they'll taste 10 different wines, all paired with different foods, and that's what we do. That's our approach.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice.
Because we try to make all our wines in a very food friendly style, and I don't think you can appreciate the wine without the food with it a lot of the time. Because a lot of wines that are nice as sippers, because they're typically a little softer and that sort of thing, don't work well with food.
Yeah.
And sometimes food friendly wines, because of a little higher acidity, are not ideally suited as sippers. So we try to make all of our wines at a very food friendly style.
Do you cook them yourself? Because I know that you're terribly passionate.
Well, what we do mostly is we use olives and different cheeses and like hummus and different things like that and nuts and that sort of thing for pairings. We don't do too many prepared foods for that that part of it, but we also do after hours food events and that sort of thing. We bring in like guest chefs, and we do like evening tastings. We did back in September. We did what may be we think we made the world's first raw food vegan winemakers dinner.
Right.
Where we had actually Doug McNeish, who's a great raw food chef, came in and did a 5-course tasting menu paired to our different wines.
Fantastic.
So it was kind of interesting and kind of a little bit out there, but people really enjoyed it. He did a really nice job with it.
Go down and visit the winery, buy some wine, have a great time, taste some food. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you. And I have a little something here for you as well. This just came out last week. Spectacular Wineries of Ontario.
That's Stephen Elphick's
book, and he did a great job on it. And this happens to be us on the front cover. Well, this is our special limited edition one, so I wanted to give one of them to yourself.
Oh, very kind. Oh,
thank you so much for having us in.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm really pleased. That's the winery right there. And here's your bridge.
Oh, that's right.
Tell me about the bridge briefly.
Yeah, the bridge is it's a dry stone bridge. My family's background is from the north of England.
What does that mean, dry stone?
Dry stone is the art of building stone structure with no mortar.
Right.
And so that is actually the largest dry stone.
No glue at all.
No glue at all. It's just how the stones are shaped and how
like
they fit
in
together.
Roman times.
Exactly. But it was from being constructed before mortar existed. And it's actually the largest dry stone bridge in North America. And we built it in 2007. It goes across a creek on our property.
I remember seeing it just after it was finished. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in, Richard. I
Pleasure.
really appreciate
Thanks.
it.
I really appreciate the offer.
Thank you for watching. Come back again and we'll have more great guests here on Pro and Con.
Thanks.
Till the next time.
Cheers.